Welcome to FPL Selection. Today we will take a look at how the team is shaping up for Game Week 4, but first a quick look at how we got on in Game Week 3. So 55 points, decent score after playing the wild card. Managed to move up 500,000 places, but to be honest it's still early days really to be looking at the rank, but nice to be moving in the right direction. The only changes I made from my wildcard draft video were to go for Ekatike and Barnes as short-term punts, just while Palmer's injured. And I've left myself a couple of options to make 2 transfers to get him back in if I want to in a few weeks' time. I also went for a 4.5 million defender for the bench in Senesi and decided to go for a 5 million keeper in Pope, just for a higher chance of clean sheets. I didn't really fancy any of the 4.5 million keepers for the long term. So the returns came from Pope's clean sheet, 5 points. Had a nice 11-pointer from Lacroix. It should have been 13 points. He actually did get enough contributions there for the DEFCONs. But because FPL closes the game pretty soon after the final match of the game week, they didn't take into account Opta's updated stats. I think it was a couple of hours after the game they finalise their stats and he would have got the extra 2 points. But yeah, not going to complain too much, but yeah, it was a bit frustrating. Mateta had a goal for 5 points, and I got the captaincy right again, which was nice. Bruno got 20 points there. So yeah, all in all, pretty decent. It was a shame Saliba didn't pull out of the game against Liverpool after he felt the injury in the warm-up. He did end up starting. He lasted 4 minutes. And then had to go off. So if he'd have missed out, I would have got Senesi's 14 points off the bench. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing. But it does look like Saliba won't be out for too long. And it was encouraging to see he got 3 DEFCONs in those 4 minutes. Now, that's why I did pick Saliba, is I think there's a chance he could get decent scores on the DEFCONs, obviously along with the high chance of clean sheets at Arsenal. So yeah, when he is back, it'll be interesting to see, if he does tick up those numbers. And yeah, obviously with a high chance of clean sheets, yeah, pretty keen to keep him. So I think he'll sit on my bench for a moment. Now looking ahead to game week 4, and first up the defence. Pope is at home to Wolves. Newcastle have the best expected goals against data so far, just 1.53 from the opening 3 games. Obviously, it's a small sample size, but they were third last season for the same metric behind Arsenal and Liverpool. And historically, they've had a very good defence under Howe. When all the defenders are fit. So they had that little period when they were in the Champions League and, they were struggling to put out, their first sort of back 4 each week. But yeah, on the flip side, Wolves have had the lowest expected goals for so far, just 2.09. So again, small sample, but you think if Strand Larsen is going to be out and he's still injured, you do wonder where the goals will come from with them. Maybe some of the new signings will come good, but yeah, it's not looking great for them as an attacking unit or defensive unit at the moment. So yeah, I think there's a good chance on paper here of a clean sheet for Newcastle. And Senesi is at home to Brighton. Now, Bournemouth have had some good defensive numbers so far. 2 out of 3 clean sheets. I think they were third on the expected goals against. But I think Brighton's attack has looked very good so far. They're very unpredictable. They've got lots of routes to goals. And yeah, we saw that against City in that last half an hour. They can really overwhelm you and create a lot of chances. They were really unlucky not to score against Everton as well. So I think this is going to be a tricky one to call. I'd expect goals for both teams. I think Bournemouth games are always a little bit of chaos. I think Brighton will, they'll react well to that, I think, in terms of countering Bournemouth. So I think really for Senesi, I'll just be hoping for the DEFCON. He's had it in all 3 matches so far. If he does make it 4 out of 4, I think he's going to become a very popular pick pretty quickly moving forward at his price. And Tarkowski has Villa at home. Everton haven't looked great defensively so far. I think their expected goals against, I think they were the 3rd worst so far. They're very lucky not to concede against Brighton, and they conceded two really sloppy goals against Wolves. So I'm not really hopeful for a clean sheet here, especially with Villa. We'll be desperate to get their first goal of the season. I did bring in Tarkowski as sort of a long-term pick because of his DEFCON potential as well. But as I said, I'm not looking at this as a potential clean sheet. I think, yeah, just going to be hoping to get the DEFCON and, yeah, get to some nicer fixtures because I think with the firepower Villa have got, obviously having Emery as the manager, there's no way they're going to keep playing so poorly and not score any goals. Lacroix is at home to Sunderland. Two clean sheets from three for Palace. And they've been historically a very good defence since Glasner came in. I think last time I looked, they were the third best if you count all the games since he arrived. So, yeah, very good defensively. Looks like a good chance of a clean sheet on paper here. But I do feel I need to check the data on this, but Palace do seem to play better away from home and against sort of better teams where they, won't have so much of the ball. So it will be interesting to see, how they approach this. Are they going to let Sunderland have the ball and try to counter them, or, are they going to be forced into, trying to make more of the play? It will be interesting to see. But I mean, if they are more open, I'd expect Lacroix to comfortably hit the DEFCONs because he's the sort of central centre back of the three. So he always tends to be the one that sort of, makes the recoveries. And he's always the one that he's clearing headers. He's usually the last line of defence. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance of some decent points here for Lacroix. Moving on now to the midfield. Salah is away to Burnley. He's not looked his best in the three games so far. He's not really been involved too much. Some of his touches against Arsenal were very poor as well. But he has still managed to get 2 returns and a bonus point in the opening three. And, three difficult opponents that they faced in Bournemouth, Arsenal, and Newcastle. So even though, he's not played well, he's still got some points on the board. He's now playing against, what should be, one of the worst teams they're going to face all season. So chance to build his confidence up. They conceded 25 shots to Man United in the last game. So, yeah, for me, this is a no-brainer. Captain on Salah. I wouldn't be too worried about his performances up until now. I think, the difference in quality here will show. And, yeah, he's going to want to start getting his tally up for the season. Fernandes is away to City. United won the last visit to the Etihad, and they've looked good in attack so far this season. They've had the best expected goals, the most shots, most touches in the opposition box, and they've hit the woodwork 4 times. So, the numbers are looking very good so far for United. And City have been very open defensively. That Brighton game last time out, there was just so much space between the defenders. It was, Brighton were cutting them apart. And I think, this is the perfect game for United. They've done really well in these tougher matches under Amorim, where they're sort of, they're going to have a lot less of the ball. And they're going to have to play on the counter. Obviously, with Mbeumo there now, we've got a real weapon on the counter as well. So, yeah, I'm quite optimistic of Bruno's chances of picking up some points. As I keep saying, he's got so many routes to points. He's always got the eye for a pass. There's going to be lots of balls over the top from Mbeumo, you'd imagine. I think he's had 4 penalties against City in his career. So, a highly charged derby. There's always a chance of someone sticking out a leg, the likes of Mbeumo, Ahmad, being tricky. So, yeah, I think there's going to be something there for Bruno. But you wouldn't be surprised to see City come out and be much better than they have been so far. And then Reinders will be on the opposite side, United at home. He hasn't caught the eye in the sort of last 2 games the same way he did in the opener against Wolves. But then I guess against better teams like Spurs and Brighton, you're not, expecting him to have as much time and space and much tougher opponents. And City have sort of chopped and changed the lineup in the first 3 games. So I think the general consensus is Rodri and Bernardo are going to be the 2 deeper midfielders. It should allow Reinders to play further forward. I mean, his main strength is sort of making those runs into the box, to get on the end of crosses and cutbacks. So I'd be very surprised if City don't play with 2 proper wingers and sort of, try to take advantage of those late runs that he makes. I'd certainly be worried as a United fan anyway if we see that happening. Barnes is at home to Wolves. I was obviously disappointed he didn't start the Leeds game last time out, as he was a short-term punt just for the Leeds and Wolves games. Howe switched to a back five and played a front two of Vasula and Murphy. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't return to a back four, for a home game against Wolves. But I wouldn't be 100% on Barnes starting, as he hasn't really played well in any of the 3 games so far. Could see Alanga left, Murphy right, and either Viss or Voltemade starting up front. But if he does get a start, or a decent amount of minutes, he'll be up against the worst defence in the league with 8 goals conceded. And that's backed up by their expected goals against data. And just the low quality Wolves have in their defence. I mean, they lost Semenyo, they lost Nuri. And what they've brought in so far, I mean, they might turn out to be good players, but yeah, it's definitely early days on that. So yeah, I'd expect some goals here for Newcastle, and hopefully Barnes will get enough time to get in on that. So moving on to the forwards, Ekitike is at home to Burnley. I think he will start the game and get at least 60 to 70 minutes. All reports so far suggest Isak is still building up his fitness. He didn't play much of the Sweden's 2 games in the international break. So we'll have to see if Slot reveals anything in the press conference, but 60 to 70 minutes should be plenty of time to get some returns for Ekitike. And you can bet he'll be desperate to keep scoring to show, he's not planning to be number 2 to Isak and that he wants to start every week. I'd be very keen to captain him, but it's just not worth going against a popular captain like Salah this early in the season. I think just owning Ekitike alongside Salah captain will make a difference if Liverpool score a few. So yeah, he'll be vice captain for me. Then Watkins is away to Everton. Villa have been very disappointing so far, yet to score a goal. Lost 2 of their 3 games, but they were unlucky to not score in the Palace game last time out. With the quality they've got on their side, it won't be too long before they get it right, especially with Emery there. You just can't see them, continuing to be so poor. As I mentioned earlier, Everton, just don't look solid defensively. So, yeah, I'm confident Watkins will get some chances in this game. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't come away with at least 1 goal or assist. It'd be, real alarm bells at Villa if they were to not score again. And yeah, just can't. It'd be very surprising. They've got 4 good games coming up. The plan is to keep Watkins for those 4 games. But yeah, it'd be nice to see some goals going in soon. And Mateta is at home to Sunderland. He's now the main man for Palace. Eze obviously leaving. Sarr's potentially injured for this one too. So, he's going to get the minutes. He's on penalties now. And Sunderland have been decent so far on defensive data, but they've played a poor West Ham side in opening day. They played Burnley and Brentford. So, yeah, it's going to be a proper test, this one, for them. And I'd be very surprised if Palace, don't get a few goals in this and sort of, show Sunderland, the difference in levels, I think. So as I mentioned earlier, Salah will be captain, no doubts about that. And the vice will be on Ekitike. I've got Anderson there as my first sub, just in case anyone misses out. I think if he had a better fixture this week, I may have started him ahead of Barnes, just for the guaranteed minutes. I'd be amazed if Postecoglou doesn't pick him, because, yeah, real top player. But I think I'll roll the dice with Barnes just for 1 more week, seeing as I've brought him in for a 2-week fixture run. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.